Today we're asking the question, what makes one violin expensive and another one not so much? Truth be told, most violins really aren't that expensive. Now, they may have gotten the reputation for being expensive due to the likes of Stradivari and Guarneri, whose instruments are accustomed to getting 7 to 8 figure price tags attached to them. But while most violins are pretty affordable, there's still that lingering question that exists about what makes one violin worth a decent amount of money and another violin worth not nearly as much. Now, before we get started, I want to ask you all to like our video, subscribe to our channel. It really helps us produce this content for you. Number 5 on our list today is the quality of materials and construction of your violin. These two factors, materials and construction, set the baseline for what your instrument can fetch on the open market. An instrument that's crafted out of rare and aged tone woods is naturally going to be more valuable than an instrument constructed out of more common materials. In the same way, an instrument that has a great amount of skill and care taken in the way that the different pieces of wood are glued together and assembled, and care and attention taken to the different proportions and angles involved in constructing a properly playing violin is going to be much more valuable than one that doesn't, which typically ends up being a violin-shaped object that is headed for the trash. Number 4 on our list today is the country of origin for a violin. Over the course of violin making history, different countries have established different reputations for the construction of instruments. Now, this has directly influenced their value. An instrument that is made in Italy is going to fetch a higher price than a very comparable quality instrument made in Germany. Most of this has to do with the more illustrious violin making heritage found in Italy. The same is true of instruments made in China, which, even if they are equal in quality, will fetch a lower price than their German counterparts. In fact, there are quite a few instances in the history of violin making where makers actually changed their name to make them sound more Italian so that their instruments could fetch a higher price. I'm looking at you, Andreas Morelli. So we've talked a little bit about how an instrument is made, and we've talked a little bit about where it's made. What makes number 3 on our list today is who made it, or more specifically, how certain are we about who made the instrument? On one end of the spectrum, you have the maker-made instrument, which is one instrument produced by one luthier, made out of raw materials. This is the pinnacle of rarity for an instrument. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, what you have is the unattributed instrument. This is an instrument where we actually don't know who made it. We're not really quite sure where it was made. It might give different indications of different countries. And other than that, all we can tell is that it's a violin and it plays. Now, in between there is an entire sliding gray scale of certainty. We might look at an instrument and see attributes in the construction that make us think that whoever made it might have been trained by a renowned maker. That'll increase the value of it. We might say that, oh, this was made in a shop, and this particular shop produced many of these instruments. That is another place to start for determining value. As you go and you figure out how certain you can be about the construction, a general rule of thumb holds true. The fewer people that were involved in making the instrument, and the more certain we are about who those people are, the more valuable that instrument's going to be. The second most contributing factor to the value of your violin is the reputation of the shop or the maker that produced the instrument. Now, this is the unpredictable activity of the market over time. And while the renown of a shop or the reputation of a maker is extremely difficult to predict, it contributes greatly to the value of your instrument. Did a professional violinist win a competition on the instrument made by a maker? And now many other violinists want that maker's instruments. Was there a shop that existed that had a long-standing reputation for consistency and quality and reliability? This could drive teachers to want to recommend that shop, driving more people to go and purchase those instruments. This cycle of renown and reputation, driving more people to come to that shop to buy more instruments, which continues to drive up renown and drive up reputation, creates an ascending cycle where it increases the demand for the instruments being produced, and that naturally brings up their price. Finally, number 1 on our list, the most influential factor in determining the value of an instrument is the supply of that instrument. What this translates to roughly is how easy is it to get another one should you need it. For a maker, the biggest price increase you will see in a maker's lifetime happens very shortly after that maker passes away. Quite simply, you can't have any more of their instruments. This is also playing true in the age of an instrument. The older the instrument gets, the more valuable it becomes. Have you ever wondered why Roth violins from the 1920s are fetching such a high price currently in the market? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that we can't make Roth instruments from the 1920s today in 2021. In the simplest economic terms, the lower the supply of your instrument compared to existing demand, the higher that price is going to go. So there you have it. Each of these 5 factors create interlocking sliding scales that play with each other to determine how much an instrument is worth on the open market. Now, for those of you keeping score at home, you might have noticed something missing from this list: sound quality. That might seem a little bit odd, but the value of an instrument is directly tied to measurable and definable aspects of the violin. Sound quality, while extremely important to the saleability of a violin, or how easy it is to sell, is extremely subjective and fluctuates from player to player. So while unfortunately a violin that you think sounds amazing doesn't actually increase its value, it does make it much easier to sell to a prospective buyer. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time on The Workshop.